So I always tell people, forget all the mythology and everything. It's an alternative energy system. Now, it's a very advanced one because it also flies. Now, to be really clear, I am not advocating not the release of the things that fly yet. Why? It's a missile delivery system. So you don't really want to open source an electrogravitic anti-gravity system that allows terrorists in Mogadishu to get a dirty bomb over downtown DC in 2 or 3 seconds. The things that would sit at your house, like your heat pump, or in the hood of your car, that would run your car or your factory or your business or your home, those devices that are not things that fly, those are just pulling energy from the fabric of space-time around it. The volume of space in a coffee mug has enough potential energy to boil off all the oceans of the world. Tapping into it to run the entire United States, the whole world, be like taking a thimble of water out of the Great Lakes.
Look, I don't trust the mainstream media anyways.
Well, they're an asset of this group.
A lot of people do. And a lot of people don't put any legitimacy on anything unless Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC. The population that doesn't believe in the mainstream media is just continuously getting larger.
It's probably half the population.
I mean, that would be the biggest story in the world. We've recovered an ET craft with bodies. On every news network, they're all covering it. And then just like that, it's gone. No photos, no nothing. What happened? Why do you think it just disappeared?
Every one of our 750 Disclosure Project folks are first-hand witnesses, meaning that they weren't people trying to find out like David Grush was. They're people who actually were in there. Interesting that the media won't interview them. How do we get the truth out? I think we're asking everyone to write their member of Congress and their 2 senators and the White House. Humanity, as I see it, is at this critical juncture where we need to choose whether we're going to go forward and keep going for hundreds of thousands of years and go out into space peacefully, all of it, or we're going to blow the whole system. We could transition to a civilization that literally will be interstellar. Maybe not in my lifetime, but in probably your children's.
Wouldn't that be something?
We certainly have the means to do it.
Do you have hope? You think we're going to get there?
Oh, I do. I wouldn't be doing this if I were a pessimist. I mean, I think it's going to be a bumpy ride. I mean, a smooth transition would have been before I was born, when the ETs warned Truman and Eisenhower to make the transition. But I think absolutely we can do it.
Lou Elizondo, is he one of them?
Oh, of course. I mean, as soon as he emerged on the stage, I had a very senior guy at CIA who's worked this issue since 1979 contact me about that problem. But remember, the only way that you can control at this point all this coming out, because of what we have and what we're pushing forward through media, is to control the narrative, the spin. So the people coming forward who get an all-access pass on to, say, 60 Minutes or something like that, are people cleared by this same illegal, corrupt organization because they'll tell the public, yes, the UAPs are real, but we don't know what they are. Well, this is an absolute lie. We absolutely know what they are. Some of them are ours, man-made, and are confused quite frequently with the others, which are of extraterrestrial origin. Those operatives are taught very well to take an issue, grab it, capture it, and then spin it in the direction that they want. Really clear. I am not advocating not the release of the things that fly yet. Why? It's a missile delivery system. So you don't really want to open source an electrogravitic anti-gravity system that allows terrorists in Mogadishu to get a dirty bomb over downtown DC in 2 or 3 seconds. The things that would sit at your house, like your heat pump, or in the hood of your car, that would run your car or your factory or your business or your home, those devices that are not things that fly, those are just pulling energy from the fabric of space-time around it. The volume of space in a coffee mug has enough potential energy to boil off all the oceans of the world. Tapping into it to run the entire United States, the whole world, be like taking a thimble of water out of the Great Lakes. A great photograph with Nikola Tesla with this engineer farmer, self-taught guy, I believe it was 1908 or 1902. And this guy had like an earth battery. He had some metallic stakes and wires in the ground. He was pulling resonant energy. It was running his farm. Even my father, I wasn't alive. He was born in 1916. This was before my dad, who was hand-to-hand combat in World War II with the Japanese. Half the planet's population doesn't have indoor plumbing. 3 billion people have no way to cook their food. They're cutting down the rainforest. 5 million people die from breathing particulate matter, soot.
The wintertime in Afghanistan, the soot is so thick in the air that if you go outside for, we're talking just 5 minutes, and you go back inside and spit in the sink, you're going to spit gray.
Really clear. I am not advocating not the release of the things that fly yet. Why? It's a missile delivery system. So you don't really want to open source an electrogravitic anti-gravity system that allows terrorists in Mogadishu to get a dirty bomb over downtown DC in 2 or 3 seconds. The things that would sit at your house, like your heat pump, or in the hood of your car, that would run your car or your factory or your business or your home, those devices that are not things that fly, those are just pulling energy from the fabric of space-time around it. The volume of space in a coffee mug has enough potential energy to boil off all the oceans of the world. Tapping into it to run the entire United States, the whole world, be like taking a thimble of water out of the Great Lakes.
How are you deciphering who the legitimate whistleblowers are from the quacks?
First of all, we asked for them to give evidence of who they were, where they were. We want to see a DD-214, we want to see records, and then we check them out. And there's someone who's in our team who has the ability to check them out through the system. Even with that, you could be tricked. The best I can do, now remember, we're not the U.S. government with trillions of dollars or the Pentagon with 700 billion. We're a volunteer organization, best we can do. What I say is that if the story doesn't track, if what they're sharing comports with the evidence from another source, but they don't know each other, there's no collusion. So then you say, okay, this gentleman in 1980 saw this. This guy in 2009 saw this. And it was essentially the same kind of operation, craft, what have you. They don't know each other, but they're very reluctant. They say, you're not going to believe this. This is what they all say. I said, trust me, I'll probably believe it.
How are you able to tell which one of these are man-made versus ET?
At a great distance, you would know. If you're up close enough, the man-made ones are going to have components, protrusions, electromagnetic, often. There are going to be seams, welding marks. Underneath, there could be pipes and other things. It's very clearly a man-made machine. The extraterrestrial ones, seamless. They're extruded in this process of how they create them. Even the light they give off is very different because it's coming through such pure material science, extremely pure materials. I would love to get Dr. Jacques Vallée to release this document he has from 1985. It's a CIA official document, and it describes the CIA conducting abductions, alien abductions in Brazil and Argentina, quote, for their psychological warfare value.
How did Tesla do it?
Tesla, I think, was actually capturing resonant magnetic field energy of the Earth that's almost boundless. So there are a lot of, quote, free energy approaches. I think the ones that use these very high voltage systems that create a sort of a vector, a tap, as it were, into this quantum vacuum energy and 0-point energy field. Those began to be stumbled across, but sort of episodically as a phenomenon back in the late 1800s, because that was the heyday when they were first discovering electromagnetism. And I think Maxwell and Faraday, some of these guys stumbled across this, but they didn't know what it was. You were getting more energy out than you had to put in. So I think you can have a rotational coil-based device. Floyd Sweet, who we feature in the movie, had a solid-state device that was about this big that could run a 300 horsepower electric engine for your car. A little knowledge is a dangerous thing. And this was my concern when David Grush started talking about an event where, the aliens were murdering people. I'm going, I know that incident. That was us. And I don't think he understands, because he's a young man. The problem of having a little bit of information on this and thinking you know a lot is that you're going to step into a booby trap. And the booby trap is being played by the very unconstitutional criminals that people like him were trying to uncover.
He was just in the news?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And came out that there was a downed craft. We retrieved it with bodies, correct?
Yes. My concern is that when you go from that to then falling into the clutches of folks in the UFO community, who then start giving you these tall tales of all these horrible things the aliens have been doing, I'm going, yes, but you haven't been read in to that part of the project. So this is like an onion, a stinking onion. You peel 500 layers of this onion back, and there's 500 more.